Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard on this Thursday as we wrap up another week of fun and frolic here.
Yeah, I guess that's one way to refer to it, Bill.
Yeah. We're always having fun. We better anyway.
Yeah, because stuff is definitely interesting going into political season. I think we're hearing a lot of things happening as far as censorship because we are in election season. Many complaints about how people aren't able to find their favorite podcast, maybe on YouTube. Never had too many problems with Apple, Bill, but someone yesterday did.
I'll be darned.
Glenn Beck.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I can't imagine why.
I mean, I don't know. It's amazing. I think he also, was he a popular personality who talked about election fraud?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he is.
Okay, I think we talked about this earlier this week about how they're going to start going after major people in the media, people that talked about election fraud, anyone related to Trump in this way. They are going to start going after you.
I guess that would include us too.
Yes.
Because we talk about it all the time.
Yes, so if you aren't able to find us, you know that videos have been taken down. I do think it's interesting. Glenn Beck, he did post a video yesterday about them discovering that all of a sudden all of their podcasts were gone.
Yeah, and I got to hand it to Glenn Beck. I remember when I worked at the radio station that carried him, and we were having people during the 2016 campaign that were just he was a big anti-Trumper.
Okay.
He wasn't quite on the MSNBC level, but he was getting pretty close, and people were calling in all get rid of this guy.
So was he a Ted Cruz guy?
Huh?
Was he a Ted Cruz guy?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so was I, frankly, at the beginning. I said,
so were my parents, actually.
I said, put America on a cruise control. But they were trying, but to Glenn's credit, after Trump got in, and he saw how he was handling things and the way it was going and how successful it was, he became a huge Trump supporter. He didn't stay this deranged Trump syndrome that we see from the media that still has a hold on him, and it still has comparisons to worse than Watergate.
Here's Glenn Beck.
Yeah.
Hey, we're just sitting here in my office and we're discussing something that we just saw here. This is from Apple. We found an issue with your show, the Glenn Beck program, which must be resolved before it's available on Apple Podcast. Your show's been removed from Apple Podcast from the Apple Podcast team. They sent us a link and said for more details, go to the link, and the link only says your show has been removed from Apple Podcasts. Well, we got that one, dummy. I mean, I cannot imagine what they're basing this one on. I mean, have we even had strikes? Nothing, right? This is crazy. You need to please retweet this and start a campaign to Apple to say, put the podcast back on. This is absolutely freedom of speech. There's nothing that we have said that would warrant any removal. Again, it's probably just a glitch, but it's amazing how we have to have a whole bunch of people point out the glitch before the glitch is found and it's put back. Man, this is huge. Well, I'm getting ready to do the show or rehearse the show for tonight. Tonight's a really important. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're just smoked because I'm pointing out the real crime family tonight on Blaze TV. This is why it's so important to get Blaze TV, because we're not playing this game. We don't censor anybody, and out of all the shows, my show is the one to get nailed. Interesting. Well, join us at the Blaze, blazetv.com/Glenn. Are we doing the will not be censored? Will not be censored is the promo code. You'll save $30 today. Join us at Blaze TV, because I think the closer and closer we get to this election, the more and more glitches are going to happen. Please retweet.
So they did return his podcast to Apple Podcasts yesterday. I'm sure that people were blowing up Apple yesterday for that.
No doubt.
Well, and I think, Bill, the thing that's interesting is that I think they have a lot of rogue employees within these companies.
Exactly.
If Twitter taught us anything, it was that they really had no idea what was going on, and employees were just doing what they wanted.
And we also found out there were too many employees. How many people did Musk riff when he got that thing? 3,500 or something?
Yes,
He was able to dump, and they're still
cut it down to half, I think,
and still going strong.
Yeah, and they're going through a rebrand and all of the things with less people.
This X thing doesn't appeal to me very much. I X'd somebody today. What?
I know, it's
weird. I just got X'd. No, because it's like it's already in the genre. It's already in the system. I mean, it's already one of the part of our
vocabulary.
Yeah. So it's like today when we say we taped our show today. No, we didn't. We don't have tape machines anymore. We don't tape the show or film the show. It is done strictly digitally.
Yeah. So I do think the Twitter thing is very interesting, but I do think. I guess it's X. And that's the other thing. People are not calling it X. They're still calling it Twitter. So the rebrand is not going that well, but I do think it makes Elon Musk feel better. I think it's part of a bigger plan for him. He is planning on doing more video and an all-encompassing app, which scares the living daylights out of me, but we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah, he could have come to SCAD here and gotten some slightly impoverished graphic student to come up with a new graphic for Twitter.
Oh yeah,
or something like that. That would have made more sense.
Yeah. Well, and Steve Stanton Sr. said, "I saw this on Twitter and retweeted it for Glenn." And
excellent.
Thank you, that's what we have to do. I mean, we have to get involved. We have to, create pressure. I mean, we're seeing that works according to Bud Light, Target. I think Target missed their sales for the first time ever. So this is what happens when you go against the values of the country.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where. I remember there was a black preacher back in the 1970s who was extremely popular, the Reverend Ike, and his motto was, he said, black or white. He said, my favorite color is green. He said, we pass buckets at my church, and I don't want change. So the color is green, the money. Okay, that's what you're after is the money. So that's what you. Anybody that comes in, always loved when they were targeting Chick-fil-A. Said they don't serve gay people. Said, how do you know they're gay when they walk in? What kind of nonsense is this? So the left always comes up with some sort of narrative. I remember back when what the cause was, but they were saying that the inflation was getting so bad under Ronald Reagan. I believe it was that elderly people were having to eat dog food.
Oh.
Yeah, that the prices were getting so high, I'd have to eat dog food. So I started going through the grocery store and looking at the price of dog food as compared to Campbell's soup, or one of my favorite Castleberry's Brunswick stew. I mean, it was more expensive to eat the dog food. So this was stupid.
Well, I think that's the thing. When you ignore what the left is saying, typically it does go away. So. I mean,
especially when you ridicule it.
Yeah. I mean, some of the stuff they're doing is ridiculous. And Lizzie Warren says Target earned it. They sure did. And so has Disney.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for Disney's shares to keep going down. Not a fan of Disney.
And you talk about doubling down on stupid. What was this thing with Minnie Mouse? But we're getting this guy as Minnie Mouse.
I don't know what they're doing.
I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, someone brought up an interesting point that corporations or businesses were meant to be a benefit to society. And at what point, if you don't benefit society, at what point are you just not a viable corporation anymore? And I think that we're seeing this, just the impact that Bud Light has felt. Because the Bush family is actually asking to buy back the brand. Yeah. Because they're not okay with what's happened.
Yeah. Billy Bush, the heir to the fortune, is saying, in fact, I think he started his own brewing company now.
Okay.
So with his own brand. So he said my mom and dad are rolling over in their grave. He said this is ridiculous. He
destroyed a legacy,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. So they're trying to buy it back, and it's gonna take a generation to get Bud Light back if it does at all.
Yeah, I don't know if Bud Light can come back. I think people are just done. And I think that just comes from if you are at a party and someone's drinking Bud Light, you know that conversation is not going to go well. You're going to be teased about that a little bit.
Yeah. So once again, it also goes to show for those of you in business, don't hire Harvard people with PhDs to come in and improve your brand.
No, definitely not. If you built your brand around something and it works, stick with it.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
So this woman that ruined things for Bud Light, making millions of dollars, forget it.
Yeah. Well, and moving on to Hawaii, a lot of reporting coming out of there. It's not good. I think that they have done a huge disservice to the Hawaiian people. There's reports coming out that the person in charge of the water actually shut it off so that people cannot fight the fire away from their homes.
Our worry now also is that they're going to find now hundreds of children who were
Absolutely.
home, but not to the parents' knowledge, didn't know that they were home. They thought they were safe at school, and they were not. They had been sent home, and that's going to be horrendous. And a lot of the people also are saying, we really wish we might have to change our name to East Ukraine if we want to get any money.
Yeah, and Tulsi Gabbard was on Fox. She she did represent the state of Hawaii.
Yeah,
I
she
think
was a congresswoman from Hawaii, and now is a Fox News contributor. And she was talking with Laura Ingraham about it last night, about how devastated she is.
Joining us now, Tulsi Gabbard, former Hawaii congresswoman and a Fox News contributor. Tulsi, you just got back from Maui. Please tell us what you saw there. This is so heartbreaking for all Americans to see.
Yeah, Laura, it's difficult to put into words this tragic loss that continues to grow, that we're continuing to see and experience and feel every time there are more and more names and numbers of our friends and neighbors in Lahaina who have perished because of this wildfire. Now, there's still over 1,000 people who are missing. There's still the vast majority of that area of devastation that needs to be gone through by those that are conducting this recovery operation. But I also want to speak to the many, many families who live in the communities surrounding Lahaina, just north of that historic town, who are continuing to struggle. Many of them did not have power for days. They were told the water was contaminated, having to shower and bathe their children with bottled water, cut off from communication. The cell phone towers were down. They had no Wi-Fi or internet connectivity. These are people who stood up in the midst of this tragedy and did everything they could to help each other. The sad part is we are 8 days past this wildfire, and I'm in constant touch with these community members and leaders. They are still not seeing response from the county, the state, the federal government to be able to go out and help them. The community support hubs that they have are 100% community led, volunteer supply collections, conducting all of these coordinations on their own. They feel like the government doesn't care about them. And that's a horrible, horrible disservice to people who have gone through a kind of loss that we can't even imagine.
No, I mean, we have a lot of commitments around the globe, and we're not getting into politics here, but we do spend billions and billions of dollars and allocate it to, other countries' issues and problems. And this is when we realize you have to, put your own oxygen mask on first before you can really help others. And these people need help. They need help now, not a week from now.
That's exactly right. When you think about, there's a woman named Andrea. She's a mom, stay-at-home mom, raising her kids. She has stepped up and spent every day and night trying to be a coordinator to get the supplies that volunteers are trying to bring in, and oftentimes having to circumvent blockades put in place by the county just to get those supplies to them, to get them to where they need. Not only are they not getting the support that they need, but oftentimes they have been getting blocked from being able to receive the support from their friends and neighbors. This is a crisis that is continuing on. It is not at all lost on the people of West Maui when they're told that FEMA is going to give those impacted a one-time $700 payment. And as they look at the news, they're seeing tens of more millions of dollars being sent to Ukraine. Some of them said, hey, maybe if we just change the name of Maui to Ukraine, maybe then they'll pay attention to us.
No, Tulsi, and I know all the breaking news tonight about the background of the chief emergency response coordinator. Didn't have a lot of experience in these types of situations. The sirens apparently weren't working as they should have for this type of event, fire event, and all of this we'll get to the bottom of. But Tulsi, thank you.
There's also an interesting story that a lot of these people who've lived there for generations were refusing to sell their land to hoteliers who wanted to build on the island.
Yeah,
but nothing to see here.
That seems plausible. And before we jump to break, Lizzie Warren said she read 1,300 are still missing. Gee, sounds worse than Katrina. And Laura is wrong. Every natural disaster that happened under a Republican administration was quickly blamed on the Republican president. Mm-hmm. And you're exactly right. We were just talking about how Bush and Karl Rove, I guess, are the ones that broke the levee for Katrina.
When the city didn't flood like the media hoped it would, Karl Rove and George Bush snorkeled in it and blew the levees so that they could get it all nice and flooded. And one of the best reports was from NBC on the Today Show when one of the reporterettes was sitting in a rowboat.
Oh yeah, and someone was walking behind her.
Somebody walked by,
yeah,
and just splashing water up to their ankles. Even Matt Lousy had to start laughing. All right, coming up next, I'll give you some financial advice. Travis Chance is standing by from CFG Wealth Management to give you some good financial information. That's next. Stay real.
She trains at 6 a.m. every morning. She spent years working to shave off seconds. She's the captain of her school's team. He's just a mid-pack finisher. But not today. Unfortunately, this competition was over before it even began.
Are you a mom or dad? Do you have little kids with big dreams? Well, hopefully your kids aren't white or Asian, because if they are, they will have a very hard time getting into their dream college or landing their dream job. Top schools and corporations are run by left-wing Democrats, and they openly discriminate against whites and Asians. So even if your daughter has the best test scores, even if your son has amazing grades, even if they spend extra hours studying and doing everything right, it won't be enough. Unless you suddenly discover that you're part Cherokee, or transgender, or in the country illegally. Otherwise, your kids are out of luck. Which begs the question, if Democrats are hurting your children, why would you ever vote for them? Stop the bigotry. Stop the insanity. Paid for by Citizens for Sanity.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes. Welcome back to Get Real America. Time to get some financial advice from our good buddy Travis Chance, CFG Wealth Management. Find out what's going on stock-wise and elsewhere and the financial world. And Travis, how are you? What is the latest here? We've seen some interesting happenings in the stock market here recently. Is the roller coaster ride continuing?
Bill, to use your line, I am redlining the fund meter, my friend. It is always a fun day here at CFG Wealth Management. No, Bill, I think it's definitely what we're seeing now is the market ran exceptionally hot for 4, 5, 6 months, and a lot of that was driven by the AI, the Magnificent Seven, I think is what they've been coined, not the Yul Brynner one, but Magnificent. A lot of the young listeners probably have never seen that movie. By the way, Bill, maybe you need to get like a. We need to do a section where we just talk about movies and try to get people to understand. Before the Barbie and Ken movie, you did have the Magnificent Seven, the Great Escape, McClintock, Bullet. But anyway, I digress. But no. In all honesty, the market ran hot. We're seeing a lot of the cool off that we see typically in August. We've obviously still got the Fed lurking out there. It's more of an indirect threat, I think, at this point, because I fully believe they do have the ammunition to stop raising rates, to let the market digest the rates that have already been increased in previous past meetings. But will they do it? I don't know. This does not concern me. 1 month obviously does not make a trend. We've had bad markets before. This is a cooling off. I don't think this is a beginning of a market correction, but we've definitely got to see what earnings come in the next few weeks. I think they're going to probably come in surprising to the upside, not the downside. But at the end of the day, all we can do is what we can do, and I think the market is right now in an uptrend, and how long that lasts, who knows? Maybe the election next year might have some impact, but that's 18 months down the road. So.
Yeah, the recent environment, I think, means passive investive strategies of a previously minted, maybe people, millions, whereas the other half, that we're getting a little more to the point where you can sort of pinpoint stocks and say, this is what we need in our portfolio.
Yes, sir. Actually, that's something that I'm glad you brought that up. That I think a lot of people are going to have to come to grips with is they could just throw a dart and hit an index and probably get more return than they could have ever dreamed over the last 10 or 12 years. But now that you've got interest rates back up into the levels that we're at, you're going to have to be a lot more selective about the positions that you hold and how you proceed going forward, because I don't think indexing is definitely going to outperform for the next 5 to 10 years. That's my opinion. I think you're going to have to be really selective and really have a choice portfolio of positions that are in good positions for the next 5 or 10 years. And I think just holding a broad basket like, one of the indexes I won't name, but, that's going to be a lot more challenging to
Travis, what are
outperform
yeah,
those rates that you want.
for sure. We notice that, on a local basis, they say that business a little bit is slowing down at the port here, but at the same time, it's still, I think, the fastest growing port in America, and it's a 50-50 port, which means that we export as much as we import. And so on the from a local standpoint, we seem to be doing well. The diversity of our economy is a lot better off than maybe a lot of other places.
Absolutely. Bill, I think you and I have talked about this privately, but just on the show, I don't think he would mind. I have a client that is a longtime employee at the Port Authority, and he said the same thing. He said, yes, we're not stacking them up like we were before, but they are still at a solid pace. And I think that sometimes can get misconstrued. Like, oh my gosh, if you think about it under COVID, whenever there was really not a lot of ports that could take that cargo, and we started getting this bottleneck, and they're stacking them up. Well, now we're able to actually process them. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we are definitely still staying busy. And let's face it, we can't compare every year against the best year we've ever had every single time we turn around. we have got solid growth. I do feel like we have to readjust our expectations. GDP at 1.5 to 2.5 is probably going to be the norm for the next few years. And does that mean we're going to stack up containers at the port? No. But it also means, like you said, we're going to probably see a good ebb and flow as far as in and out. And I think that's in our economy here in Savannah and in the low country area. I think we're in a great position. The new businesses that we've got coming in, the home building basically has not slowed down in our area. We are somewhat insulated because of the ports, because of some of the other the amenities that we have that other areas don't. So I think Savannah is in a great position locally to really take advantage of what I feel like is going to be a boom and a bull market. Maybe not the degree we haven't seen in the past, but for the next few years, I think we're in good shape.
Everybody wants to get in on the ground floor of something that grows. Well, we've got when people look at what Hyundai is doing here and how it's growing, would that be a time to look at that particular stock? Or we got so many AI things going on right now. I know that there's a million ways to invest there.
I'm somewhat split on this. AI, yes, I definitely think if someone is not looking at the potential growth of what AI could bring to the table, I think they're really missing out. It would be the equivalent of having a bunch of horses in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and say, "Oh, that train's not going to be here in 100 years." Yeah, we're definitely we're going to get the impact of AI. I think that's a no brainer. And there's a lot of ways to play that, whether you do the infrastructure, you do the hardware, the software, the big magnificent seven, which is why we saw the market do what it's done this year in those 7 stocks, which basically shows you the difference between the S&P and the Dow. It was basically 7 stocks. You take out those 7 or the makeup that are of those in the S&P, basically the Dow and the S&P look identical. So Hyundai, though, just to make a comment on that, Bill, I'm worried about this electric vehicle push and rollout,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll tell you why. More and more, you're starting to see like these Ford Lightnings, and these Ford's going to lose billions of dollars this year on electric vehicles, mm-hmm. because a lot of these trucks and these vehicles, they're getting turned back in, and people are coming back in to buy gas. The internal combustion engine has been a workhorse for a century for a reason. Mm-hmm. It is able to be worked on. It's easy to operate. We have fuel to run it. Electricity, I think that's still kind of debatable. I don't know how much impact those companies that are going full bore into the EV market of what they're gonna see. So if that's really kind of what's driving someone to look at like a Hyundai or one of these other car manufacturers, I would probably say it's a little early in that camp. Tesla, maybe, because Tesla actually is just a technology company that happens to make cars. I mean, they're not, Hyundai is a car company that implements technology. There's a difference. I think Tesla is definitely a good way to play it, but I don't know if I would do Hyundai or not. That's kind of that might be a bridge too far for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm worried about that because there's so many people, like you said, the Ford Lightning is I think they announced that they were cutting the prices like 17% on those, and it indicates to me that they're not selling them.
Well, I'll give you a great example. I had a client the other day. Quick story. He goes to buy a vehicle and he pulls up to the lot and they had 3 Ford Lightnings sitting side by side. And he said, well, the Ford Lightning, to the salesperson, the Ford Lightning is supposed to, have a waiting list and all this. Why do you have 3? He said, those are used because people have turned them back in the last week or two. No, not to be funny. Like that was a serious comment. Yeah. He said, because people have figured out whenever they put a trailer behind these things or whenever they start hauling them, which is what people buy trucks for. I mean, let's face it, they literally drop from like 300 range to 100. And people just don't want to deal with that. So they just come back in and buy gas. So that's the reason why I said, that might be something that's integrated over a number of years. And I think that would be the way to play that if I were, in government, instead of trying to push everybody to it too fast, too quick. But, common sense, we've talked about it. It's a superpower. Not a lot of people north of Richmond, the rich man north of Richmond, don't have that common sense. It doesn't seem to be. Have you heard that song, by the way, Bill?
I have, yes.
Not to change the subject, but holy cow! Like if that doesn't kind of stir something in you and get your hair on your arm standing up, I don't know what will. That was incredible. But yeah, it's definitely something I think that's being rolled out too quickly as far as EVs are concerned. But time will tell. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I don't think so, because the reality is going to dawn on these people sooner or later that I think they're trying to push these things. Like, I think people think that it's going to be free to actually fill these things up, so to speak.
And what they don't realize is when you have to, so once again, have a client that actually works for one of the infrastructure companies that puts in the supplies for these things, you're going to wind up having to have potentially two for a 2-car family of 4. You're going to have 2 services at your home, one for your vehicles, one for your home. You're going to wind up paying twice the light bill, even though you don't have to pay for gas. You're going to pay twice the light bill. And have you seen the rate increases with Georgia Power with 3 and 4 coming online?
Yep.
Bill, that's not going to be the Wizard of Oz and going over the hill and then everyone singing and holding hands going up to the castle. Yeah. That's going to be the flying monkeys. That's not going to be the perfect scenario.
Yeah, the Wicked Witch of the West is setting in here. Travis, I think once again it's important for people to talk to somebody like you about investing their money and making sure that they don't run out of money before they run out of breath.
Bill, couldn't agree more. Retirement, especially because that's what our specialty is. Retirement is a choice, right? We have to make the decisions, make a conscious effort to take control of our situation. And we want our clients to retire by design, not by default. And if that's something that they're concerned with because they are a listener of your show, remember, I have 3 spots every week for your listeners. Ask Us Anything sessions, 20-minute session. Give us a call, 877-269-0839.
All right. Once again, tell people how to get in touch with you, because we're heavily into shameless self-promotion.
They can go to chancefinancialgroup.com. Send us a message on our contact page or give us a call, 877-269-0839.
Thanks, Travis. Talk to you again next week. Have a good one.
Thanks, Bill. Have a good one. See you.
You too. And if Travis is not your financial manager, get somebody who is an expert in the business and knows his or her stuff and will take care of your money, because you haven't got time for it.
Yep, and Travis Chance is really good, so if you don't have one, make sure to give him a call.
So, how are things going in the friendly skies, or not? Jay Ratliff, aviation analyst and expert, is on deck. Stay real.
When I grow up, I want to work for a woke company, like super woke.
When I grow up,
I want to be hired based on what I look like,
rather than my skills.
I want to be judged by my political beliefs.
I want to get promoted
based on my chromosomes.
When I grow up,
I want to be offended
by my coworkers
and walk around the office
on eggshells
and have my words policed
by HR. Words like
grandfather,
peanut gallery,
long time no see,
no can do.
When I grow up,
I want to be obsessed with emotional safety
and do workplace sensitivity training
all day long.
When I grow up, I want to climb the corporate ladder
just by following the crowd.
I want to be a conformist. I want to weaponize my pronouns. What are pronouns?
It's time to grow up and get back to work. Introducing the #1 woke-free job board in America, redballoon.work.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding? Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Welcome back to Get Real America. Time to find out what's going on in the sky and on the ground. The people are taking care of the folks who are in the sky. Our good buddy Jay Ratliff, iHeart aviation analyst and expert, is on the line here with us this morning once again to talk to us about what's happening. Jay, I don't know if you heard about this, but we had a Delta flight that had to be diverted here for some bad weather or something that was headed to the Bahamas.
Yes, and we didn't have the customs people in Savannah to take care of them. So what happens? You sit on the plane. And you continue to sit on it. Yep. Yeah, because we encounter this all the time when you have diversions. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of options on the East Coast that we can divert flights that have custom officials standing by 24/7. So as a result, when the plane lands, the thought process is land, let the storm pass, take off, minimal impact on the passengers. But of course, if the delay is extended, well, then your best laid plans go right out the window. And unfortunately, that's what ended up happening. And it's not like you can let people off wander around the terminal because they've not been processed into the country yet. And because of that, it really creates an operational logistics problem. And sadly, that's what was part of the process there.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can, hopefully everything's okay, but it's always scary when you get those diversions. Sometimes I know you've been in a situation.
Yeah. And passengers are always like, well, Jay, why don't we have customs officials on duty 24/7? That way, when this happens, we're good to go. It's a good question, but you always have to answer the question with the question of how often does this type of scenario happen?
Sure.
Once every 3 years. So if it happens once every 2 to 3 years, is it really worth the cost of having those employees on duty 24/7, waiting for something to happen? And obviously the answer is no, you can't. So that's why when they occur like that, you just hope that the delay and the inconvenience is minimal.
Yeah, I can just remember really apropos nothing, but years ago when I was working in Charleston, we had this horrendous snowstorm that hit South Carolina and shut down everything for several days. And people who were from the north complained in Spartanburg they didn't have any snow plows to clear the roads.
Well, same thing. I mean, when I was in Monroe, Louisiana, which is northern Louisiana, we had 3 inches of snow, maybe 2, that shut the airport down for 3 days. And we had all these travelers in from New York and Boston and others that are just losing their minds because they're like, wait a minute, time out. You guys can't get rid of this little dusting of snow. No, we do not. It's a lot like I think Comair, when they were around, had a contest for their stations to send them a copy of the best picture of each station. And the winner was the Key West de-icing team. It was a bunch of people sitting around on the beach with buckets just taking in the sun, because down there to de-ice, you just point the nose towards the sunrise and go from there. So, stuff like that is only used every so often, it just doesn't make sense. And
no, it doesn't.
It's aggravating when you have to shut things down. But
oh, sure.
What, you want everybody's ticket to go up by 30% so we can have all of this equipment that we only use once every 3 to 5 years standing by? And obviously that's not what we want to do.
Exactly right. Jay, what about this couple? Speaking of tickets rising, how about this couple that goes and prints their tickets at the airport and they get charged $110 a ticket?
Yeah, actually, my notes to you were in error. It was $140 for the two of them. It was $70 a ticket. Ryanair is the discount carrier of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care what anybody says about them. They do things that are. Uh, there was one time that the CEO had paid toilets, yes, put on their airplanes. They're cheap and they charge people for everything they can. And they have a policy that says, look, if you don't check in online at least 2 hours before departure, you're going to have to pay $70 per person to have an agent print your boarding passes. That's the rule. Always, it has been for an extended period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this elderly couple that were, I think, in their 80s or something, or kind of shuffled up to the counter, and they had to pay $140 to get their thing printed. And the family's losing their mind, saying, "Look, this took what 60 seconds for somebody to print these off, hand them to our parents,
Uh-huh.
and you're going to charge them $140? Well, if they'd have been in their 20s, it would have been the same thing."
Yeah.
Ryanair's thought process is, we need you to do this for us so that we don't have everybody standing in line, possibly delaying the flight.
Uh-huh.
So if you can do it on your own, where we don't have to devote the personnel to it, it allows us to offer cheaper fares. We have fewer employees. You can do this part on your own, and it allows us to process the passengers more quickly. And what happens is, if you don't do this, then you are in jeopardy of delaying the flight or missing it. So if you want to look at this as a penalty fee, it kind of is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot like in the United States. If you check your bag in advance, it costs one thing. If you go to the airport to check it in with somebody face to face, it's going to cost more money. Well, why does it cost more money at the airport than it does in advance? Because you're running the risk of having a flight delayed because of your action, or you or your bag not making it. So I'm not saying the fee's right. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. But this is from an airline that thought it was okay to get rid of all the seats on an airplane. Because look, when we take a bus or train in Europe, we stand up. We just grab the little handles at the top. Why can't you do the same thing on an airplane? That's ridiculous, obviously, because from a safety standpoint, but that's the thinking of Ryanair. So does it surprise me they charge people $70 a piece if they've not checked in online at least 2 hours before their flight? Nah, not at all.
Great, just like riding a subway or something in the air.
That's it.
Jay, what's the right now our hearts are breaking over what's happening in Maui, and
Yeah.
it doesn't look like the federal government's doing a whole lot. But the airlines are continuing these massive flights in and out or whatever.
Yeah, I think of all the people around the world that talk about how airlines are bad, kill the planet, wish we didn't have them, blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think of every time we have a natural disaster such as this, where airlines respond. I think Hawaiian Airlines has airlifted 20,000 people out of Maui. Alaska Airlines has brought in 100,000 pounds of aid, like water, blankets, baby supplies. You've got Boeing coming in with $500,000 to help the disaster recovery effort. United Airlines has brought in 110 or so pallets filled with like 90,000 pounds of aid. You've got airlines bringing in extra big airplanes, bigger than what was scheduled. Nobody on them but individuals to help, medical supplies and things of this nature, and they're busy airlifting people out. You have pilots on vacation in Maui that are stepping up saying, look, we don't have enough pilots to get these planes out of here. I'll cut my vacation short so I can jump on a plane and help fly out 200 or 300 people. It's a massive effort right now that is ongoing. And the question I'm getting from a lot of people, Bill, is, Jay, I planned on going to Hawaii. Should I cancel my vacation? Mm-hmm. And we've heard from the Hawaiian Travel Authority, or whatever the name of the organization is, and they are about as wishy-washy as you can get. They say, well, if you're traveling to Western Maui, consult your hotel travel agent, whatever it might happen to be, because your impact might be affected. Look, if you're going to the island of Maui at all, you're going to get in the way. Yeah. And I understand the aggravation of a lot of the rescue teams there that are busy trying to get people out. And then here comes a family of four with their little pull along luggage, skipping down the terminal, getting ready to go on vacation there. It's just not the time. But if you're going to one of the other islands in Hawaii, by all means go. because one of the things that we recognize is that tourism is what drives a lot of this recovery. And if
Yeah.
you have $18 billion a year that Hawaii takes in tourism, money they've not really had the last several years because of the pandemic, this was the first full summer that they were going to be able to, you know, take advantage of this. It stands to reason that, you know, the more people that can go into Hawaii to help, the better. Obviously, though, not if you're going to Maui.
Exactly. Well, and it's a shame that the airlines are not getting the publicity on this that they deserve. I haven't seen a thing on the news about what the great job that they're doing, and the fact that FEMA is supposed to be there doing stuff, and most of the people there say we haven't seen anybody.
Well, I mean, excuse me, I've seen where we've had hurricanes, earthquakes, things of this nature, where Southwest Airlines will have a team of volunteer pilots and flight attendants that fill up a 737, seats and the cargo, where they'll fly supplies in, like some military airlift, bringing in needed supplies to affected areas all over the world. That's what they do. And that's what we're seeing here is airlines. It's not unprecedented because we see this all the time where you have people that are stepping forward, volunteering, saying, look, I'll take the next 20 hours and work for free to try to help either load an airplane, prepare the things that need to be done, or get there and work on the ground, providing meals to people that need it. And it just, again, it doesn't fit the narrative for a lot of people that say airlines are, bad on the planet, et cetera. But when you look at any disaster around the world, it's the aviation community that steps up and says, look, we've got these airplanes, we're going to bring them in. And it's been nonstop bringing supplies in, especially early on, where they brought individuals from medical teams in to assist. And of course, all the other logistics as far as the personnel, flying airplanes into Maui, practically empty of passengers, but packed full of supplies, and then airlifting as many people out of there as they can. And United and others are leading the way. Alaska Airlines doesn't even fly in between the islands, but they are now. They've got volunteers that are coming in that are shuttling things from Oahu to Maui back and forth to try to help bring in as many of the needed supplies as possible. And again, all on a volunteer basis. The airline's paying for the fuel. People aren't being paid for their time, and they're going in to assist as much as possible. And that's what, again, happens time and time again. I've seen it for decades where the airline industry steps up to assist in whatever way they can.
God bless them. And God bless you, Jay. Appreciate it, pal. We'll talk to you again next week, and safe travels.
I appreciate it, brother. Talk to you soon.
Take care. We'll be right back.
Have you ever boarded a plane and thought to yourself, I hope the pilot is a transgender refugee? Have you ever gone to the emergency room and said, I hope my medical team is incredibly diverse? Have you ever moved to a new city and said, I hope the police department hit its equity goals for the year? If your answer to these questions was no, if you just wanted the most qualified candidates for the job, then you are normal. But we have a lot of very not normal people running America these days. Left-wing politicians believe skin color or gender identity should determine who gets the job. Democrats used to care about the middle class. Now they just care about your race and your gender. And as long as Democrats stay in power, it will just keep getting worse. Stop the bigotry. Stop the insanity. Paid for by Citizens for Sanity.
Savannah, I'm coming home, Savannah.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Here it is, Thursday already, 17th day of August.
Yes, and Lizzie Warren says, unless ICE vehicles are banned, EVs will never become popular.
Mm-hmm.
Who in the right mind would buy a used EV? Great question.
Yeah, that's Travis brought something up that I hadn't even thought about. He said when the Ford Lightning, the F-150, which has been the most popular pickup truck for almost forever, when you put a load on it, that it obviously is going to have to use more energy, therefore it's going to use more battery power. Suddenly, he said your 300-mile range drops to 100 miles. That's a big difference.
Yeah, well, and it's unpredictable, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, electric vehicles, maybe not the answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you think that's going to save you money by not having to buy gas, you're in for a rude awakening.
Yeah, and Heather Bilton gave us a thumbs up, and Lizzie Warren said, fly Ryanair multiple times. They will not allow your luggage if it is a tiny bit oversized. Some of those airlines are pretty strict.
Yeah, for sure.
I will say I mostly fly Delta, and they've actually been fairly good to fly. Haven't had a lot of issues with them. So.
Yeah, I like Delta. Meanwhile, the district attorney up in Atlanta, the daughter of a Black Panther, is Fonnie Willis, so she's indicted 19 people, and she wants this thing done within 6 months. Now, they've had 3 years for this, and all of a sudden this comes up now for God knows what reason. I just can't figure it out.
I can't figure out what could be happening in the next little bit that would cause this.
So we're going to get 19 people together, and each one of them, of course, is going to have their own sets of attorneys, and they're all going to want this could drag on into the next century. Okay. This woman is totally incompetent. She's a Soros-elected district attorney, and she ought to be fired immediately, if not sooner. Governor Kemp, you have the power now. Get rid of her.
Well, and also they're trying to go after Burt Jones now.
Yeah, our lieutenant governor, because apparently he did something. He must have thought about January the 6th. So, Jonathan Turley, who is one of the voices of reason. And a professor, I'm surprised that George Washington University hasn't dumped him, a Fox News contributor. He was explaining to Laura Ingraham last night about why this DA is in some hot water.
Now to the judge assigned to Trump's Georgia case, Scott McAfee. He graduated from the University of Georgia Law School about 10 years ago and has been a judge for 6 whole months. But the most interesting thing about him is something the New York Times, of all places, pointed out. that he used to work for the DA who brought the case, Fani Willis. Joining us now is Jonathan Turley, professor of law at GW University and a Fox News contributor. Professor Turley, look, the legal world is quite intertwined. It seems like all of us know someone who used to work for someone. But given the importance of this case, is this a little too close for comfort if you're one of these 19 defendants?
You know, I'm going to give this judge the benefit of the doubt. We'll have to see how he performs. He's young, doesn't have a lot of experience, but he does, as a judge, he does have experience in the courtroom. You know, the key, Laura, in my view, in these cases is really the essence of the judge as opposed to the extent of their experience. What you really want from someone is that they're going to listen to both sides, to be fair, to understand this is a historical moment. And what that moment calls for is to assure both sides of this deeply divided country that this is going to be a fair trial. And it's always concerning with state judges that have to stand for election, being viewed as in any way helpful to Donald Trump in Atlanta is not a way to get reelected. So it's going to take a great deal of integrity and courage from this young judge to say, I'm going to do this the right way, even if it's taken the wrong way by many people who will be voting in the judicial election.
Well, today we learned, Jonathan, that Fani Willis wants to start this trial on March 4th, just one day after Super Tuesday, one day before Super Tuesday, excuse me. Will this fairly expedited schedule in terms of this type of litigation, will this run into problems?
It is clearly going to run into problems. I'm speaking as a criminal defense attorney that this schedule is really grossly unfair to Donald Trump. I mean, what she is suggesting is she's going to put 19 people on trial. And this is going to be this massive production, and she's going to do it in this rather short period of time. Now, the defense has to go through what are effectively 3 grand juries, 3 years of investigation. There's 19 defendants that may have conflicts. There's going to be a flurry of motions. There's going to be constitutional questions raised. And the question is, why this mad rush? Why is everyone not just piling on indictments, but jamming together these trials, daisy chaining them from Super Tuesday to virtually the inauguration, if you count the civil cases as well? At some point, judges are going to have to step in and be a mature voice and say, look, okay, stop it. I mean, this guy has got to prepare a defense in multiple cases. You're not the first prosecutor to file, and get in line.
Well, is there any way, Jonathan, that this motion, not just on the part of Meadows, but others who are working in a federal capacity, that it all could be moved to federal court? And especially given the dual track with Jack Smith, a lot of the same claims are covered, albeit on a state level.
It is possible because we're living in uncertain and interesting times, which itself is a curse. There are issues here that President Trump will raise. Some of these actions occurred when he was president. Some of the conversations that are cited occurred in the Oval Office. Some occurred with his associates. In some ways, Willis may have really tripped the wire here. I call this sort of the Jackson Pollock school of prosecution. She threw everything against the canvas and looked to see if a picture emerged, and said, this is all one big conspiracy, every tweet, every speech that we cite. Well, by doing that, she also tripped wires with regard to his time as president. And that has created this question of whether it could be removed.
Jonathan, that's a big insult to Jackson Pollock, but I appreciate you working him into your response. It's great to see you. Thanks, Jonathan.
Well, there you go.
Well, and we have a lot of comments about this. It's shocking. And the Fulton DA can't even announce the charges competently, says Lizzie Warren. One of the things that I did hear, Bill, was she basically had this press conference and said, we're asking these people to come to surrender by noon on Friday, right?
Yeah.
People are like, maybe Trump shouldn't do it and say, you know what, you guys can come to my house and serve me papers.
Yeah. Right.
this isn't how you do things.
Or show up at midnight, because that's when they have the press conference.
Yeah.
So obviously that's the way to do it.
Well, also, if he's in Florida, guess what? That also forces Governor DeSantis' hand on what he's going to do and how he's going to handle it, and if he's going to do the right thing, or I think it challenges, the narrative of Ron DeSantis. So I think that he has a good opportunity here to do the right thing, but if he doesn't, I think that will also just probably take him out of the presidential race altogether.
Yeah, Governor Kemp, you can make headlines by getting rid of this woman.
Yes, and Steve Stanton says DNC owns the justice system. And Lizzie Warren says 6 months as a judge, and he gets one of the biggest cases in the entire country, probably in any of our lifetimes, too.
Yeah. And I don't have a lot of faith in the Georgia Law School anyway, or the University of Georgia.
Yeah.
It's an indoctrination center now.
Yeah, and then Anne-Marie Drayback says, right, Lizzie, this seems so staged, like crisis actors or something, I feel. It's one big fake show.
Yeah.
They're...
Go Dogs.
Yeah, they're going to do everything they can to upset people. Here's the other thing. They had a lady out of Texas that is actually being arrested because she threatened the judge in D.C. She did leave a voicemail. I don't think that they were doing this when our justices were being threatened, did they?
No, not a bit.
No. So it's interesting. 2 tiers of justice in this country right now.
And so far, nobody's been prosecuted for the Summer of Love.
Yep, that's how it's working in America. So, but what you can do is you can call your representatives, you can call the governor's office, you can let them know how you feel about this situation, and make sure that they're aware of how the public is feeling. So public pressure is the only way we can get things done at this point. But don't be violent.
No. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you again next week where we try to straighten out America.
Yes, thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to go check out Foxy Loxy this weekend. Grab a coffee, grab a taco. They have great tacos.
Absolutely.
And download our app, The Local Spin. Become a member, a sponsor, an advertiser, and we will see you guys next week.
That's right. Take care.